'64 is such an interesting time in American history. It was a time where you had a lot of unrest in terms of how do we create a more free and equal and just society in all of these communities throughout the United States, particularly in the South. But you also had a period in which we're holding our breath in a lot of ways, both because of the Cold War. Are we going to go in an active war against Russia and the Soviet Union? Or are we going to break out into all-out war because of the tensions, the racial tensions that exist as we're trying to integrate a lot of communities and schools and businesses, et cetera, in the wake of Brown v. Board from the 54-55 decision? You have a series of legislative decisions that happen both in terms of the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, the Hart-Celler Act, which is an immigration law act, that all happen in rapid succession, 64 through 68. So I think it's right at the sort of pinnacle at that time where real legislative change happens as a result of the decade prior, the decision for Brown v. Board.
This Civil Rights Act is a challenge to all of us to go to work in our communities and our states, in our homes and in our hearts, to eliminate the last vestiges of injustice in our beloved country.
What I found incredibly remarkable to learn about Ridgeview is just how vibrant and thriving of a community it was in '64, and that it continued to be during the time of what we consider the sort of desegregation period. You had barbershops and hotels and schools and libraries and all these things, that a really tight-knit community that was really thriving economically, socially, etc. So to me, it's a kind of a lost part of our national understanding of sort of Black communities at that time. I think the association with integration or desegregation, however you want to term it, is that all African American communities during that time were in somehow impoverished or struggling in some kind of way. And here you have Ridgeview that is just this kind of hotbed of amazing activity and accomplishments, like the '64 team, that are just really, really doing well overall. The African American community, particularly considering the context in which folks were living at that time, would have been a tremendous source of pride. I understand that the marching band was held in high regard, the cheerleaders were held in high regard, people really rallying around the high school itself. There was incredible educators at the school. I think that Ridgeview had something to be proud of, and something a lot of communities were kind of a little bit jealous of in a lot of ways, because you did not see that in very many places in the United States, particularly in the South during that time.
The final days of Ridgeview, I think about it a lot. That prepared me for life. It prepared me for life. Be ready to change, do anything. Because I wound up in the Army as a medic, and then later on in the Air Force as a combat nurse. So it prepared me to make a quick break, change, do whatever I had to do to keep going. Beautiful thing.